We saw rats all around here, needles all around, feces right here. No one wants to live in these conditions.
Governor Gavin Newsom starts his day in San Diego. Coming up, my one-on-one interview where he reveals why he chose America's finest city to unveil his plan to help those who are homeless across the state.
Just go ahead and get COVID so you can get it over with, right? Wrong. I'm Kirsten Holmes. We talked to doctors about why that is a terrible idea.
Plus, as COVID cases rise in San Diego County, the number of new flu cases drops.
A suspicious fire at Chairman Fletcher's home.
And we'll tell you how to help a child in need by donating your old computer.
News 8 at 6 starts now.
Governor Gavin Newsom visits San Diego and helps clean up a homeless encampment. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Marcella Lee.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. The governor spoke about his California Blueprint, a plan that will include more money than ever to tackle the homelessness epidemic. The governor is proposing an additional $2 billion toward transitional housing, including hotel and motel rooms and tiny homes. Some of that money will also expand immediate access to mental health care.
Here in San Diego, an estimated 8,000 people are experiencing homelessness. This morning, I was invited to speak exclusively with the governor one-on-one.
I don't think anyone wants to live out in the streets and sidewalks or next to a freeway.
Governor Gavin Newsom, alongside San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria, started the morning picking up trash at 17th and G Streets, cleaning up a homeless encampment that a dozen or so people used to call home.
We saw rats all around here, needles all around, feces right here. No one wants to live in these conditions. No one does, truly.
The governor is adding $2 billion in new funding to fight homelessness to last year's $12 billion effort. He says the money is being used to help people one by one get off the streets.
I have a friend who used to be homeless, and he says a lot of people who are homeless don't want the help. They don't think they need the help. How are you going to get to them?
Well, I mean, that was the case for 10 people that were in this encampment. 8 of them eventually agreed. It took a few weeks. You got to meet people where they are. I think this notion that we just give up on people because the first interaction they say no is getting in the way of real progress.
When you talk about specifics, where did these 8 people go? How do you help them? And who's following their path?
Well, this case, we have a nonprofit, a local nonprofit. Brad and his team are remarkable, well established here in San Diego, and they are providing a list of options for folks.
He credits the nonprofit CityNet, a group working to end street-level homelessness, for being persistent and helping those who once lived here.
You got to be creative, meet people where they are. You have to be stubborn, and we were stubborn. 3 weeks of outreach, 3 weeks, not 3 times in 3 weeks, dozens of times, and we got here, and now it gives us the opportunity to clean things up.
Newsom wants people to know this kind of support from the state is something new.
The state's never been involved in homelessness in the past. I mean, I think people need to understand that. And as a former mayor, I deeply understand it, because when I was mayor, we were on our own. It was the cities and the counties. The state didn't invest.
He recognizes the pandemic has made things worse, but says state funding for short-term hotel stays has helped bridge the gap.
In just 12 months, we got 58,000 people off the streets because of our expansion of this hotel program.
Do you know how many of those in San Diego?
The mayor will be previewing that tonight, and I don't want to share it.
Tackling affordable housing in general, Newsom says he has a new housing accountability unit in place, overseeing cities and counties.
Because the biggest impediment on housing, I think it's the lack of desire for us in our own backyards to see more housing constructed. In so many ways, we're our own worst enemy.
To critics of his plan to end homelessness, who say it's all too costly and won't work, Governor Newsom says you have to start somewhere.
They're welcome to come out here, the critics, and do what we just did. As long as I'm here, you're going to see a lot more of this. We're just winding up. Boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. Unprecedented investment, multi-year, and I'll hold folks accountable. That's why I was out here cleaning things up myself.
So this is the start. This is the first time we've seen Governor Gavin Newsom out on one of these homeless cleanups. Why San Diego? Why is his attention pointed here to kick off this effort?
Yeah, he was all fired up, Carlo. I mean, he really was. It wasn't just for the cameras. I mean, he spent about an hour cleaning up trash, really fired up. He says Mayor Gloria is a great partner because Mayor Gloria spent time in the assembly, so he knows how to ask for support from the legislature. And Governor Newsom, as you heard him say, the states never used to get support, or never used to give support to the cities and counties, and he says he's here now to invest $14 billion to help with this problem.
Yeah, very big problem that's going to need a big solution, one with many levels.
Yes.
The White House, in the meantime, is increasing its supply of COVID tests to schools nationwide. It will send 10 million tests to schools every month. That includes 5 million rapid tests and 5 million PCR tests. The White House says these additional tests will help keep schools safely open. This all comes as the Omicron variant puts a strain on nearly every aspect of American life. In just 24 hours on Monday, the U.S. saw more than 1.4 million new COVID cases. That is the highest ever.
Get Omicron and just get it over with. That's a sentiment that some people have been sharing since the Omicron surge started to overwhelm society.
But a doctor CBS 8's Kirsten Holmes talked to today says that is a terrible idea. She joins us live with details. Kirsten?
Yeah, Marcella, Carlo, a terrible idea indeed. We're at Scripps Mercy in Hillcrest, where doctors, nurses, anyone around here and any other hospital all across the county, they all agree they want everyone to do their best to stay safe. Although Omicron seems to be a little bit milder, they say this is still a dangerous and deadly virus.
So I've just started feeling back to myself yesterday. It was over 2 very full weeks of feeling the COVID.
Darcy Johnson and her boyfriend Matt are just now recovering from COVID. She says the idea of getting the virus just to get it over with is not the way to go at all.
You have a job and a dog or a family, kids. I mean, trying to function in everyday life while feeling that way is, it's nothing to play around with.
Dr. Jyotu Sandhu says she's right.
When people say, oh, let me just get COVID and let me get it over with, well, you're not really getting over anything. You're never fully protected from reinfection.
Dr. Sandhu says doctors studying COVID-19 and its resulting variants just don't know enough about the virus yet or the lasting effects like long haul.
We have certain people who do have long-term antibodies, but that's not applicable to the general population. They only mounted about a 2 or 3 week antibody response versus the people who had a tube down their throat in the ICU mounted a 4 or 5 month antibody response.
And when it comes to testing, Dr. Sandhu says the PCR test is better than the at-home antigen tests.
You'll have a negative antigen test, but you still have COVID, and to your point, you'll be spreading it around, either asymptomatically or with mild symptoms.
Plus, if you get COVID, it's not just about you. You could be hurting those around you.
But for every single additional COVID infection, that's one more chance for COVID to change its form.
Dr. Mark Sawyer is a pediatric infectious disease expert who says catching COVID will also put kids at risk, especially those who are too young to get vaccinated.
But it's only mild until it's not. A small percent of people are still getting very sick and even dying from Omicron, and that includes children.
Doctors say catching COVID is not worth the risk, and vaccination, full vaccination, including the booster shot across the board, is the best way to beat the virus. And for people who have had COVID, myself included, will tell you all across the board, it's not something you want to take lightly, and it's not worth the risk. Stay well out there. Back to you, Carlo. Marcella.
Thank you, Kirsten, and we're so glad you're back to good health. An independent panel of doctors from the San Diego region met virtually this morning to fact-check COVID misinformation shared during public comment of yesterday's county supervisors meeting. The panel touched on several topics, including what treatments work and what don't based on research. They noted ivermectin is one that does not work.
It's hard to believe that it's a very efficacious drug when you have some well-conducted trials out there showing it's exactly the same as placebo. I mean, a drug has to really not be very good. If you have a curve that looks exactly the same as placebo, how does that happen? Well, it happens if the drug is not very potent or not very powerful.
Today's full discussion is archived and available for you to watch on the county's website.
New tonight, the city of Chula Vista now says it will declare a public health emergency in response to an ongoing sanitation strike.
The ongoing strike between sanitation workers and Republic Services has been going on for almost a month. That announcement, though, came out just a short time ago because trash has been piling up since that strike started. People on both sides of the strike debate made their voices heard at last night's Chula Vista City Council meeting. City leaders say rats and vermin are now crawling all over the abandoned trash piles. A public health emergency will clear the way for the city to hire outside contractors to pick up all that trash.
Arson investigators are calling an early morning fire at the home of County Board of Supervisors Chair Nathan Fletcher and former state lawmaker Lorena Gonzalez suspicious.
Tonight, that family is staying somewhere else because of all the damage to their home. They say they were awakened by their smoke alarms at 4 a.m. and found the whole front of their home on fire.
CBS 8's Abby Alford reports.
We're outside Chairman Fletcher and Lorena Gonzalez's home, where you can see the front of the door has been torched. Investigators believe this is suspicious.
Hours after San Diego County Board Chairman Fletcher and former Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez's home caught fire in City Heights, investigators were still out questioning the couple and neighbors.
Around 4:17, smoke alarm went off. Came out of the bedroom and could immediately see the whole front of the house was engulfed with flames. So we got our family out.
San Diego police say the fire started in a trash can outside the house and spread to the exterior of the home, causing an estimated $36,000 in damages.
It's under investigation due to kind of being suspicious in nature.
We're not going to comment on that.
Fletcher, who was unanimously re-elected to chairman on Tuesday, has faced heat from San Diegans during the pandemic, and not everyone agrees with his Democratic politics. A source within the county can confirm Fletcher has received death threats in the past. Investigators are combing through the evidence and give us insight into why they believe this was intentional.
So based on the front of the house, the time of the day, and that sort of thing, there really wasn't a lot of material up front to me that looked like that it was combustible.
Detectives checked with neighbors who had surveillance cameras, and so did we.
There's nothing suspicious that stuck out to us.
Karina understands that not everyone may agree with her neighbor's policies, but says if this is intentional, it's gone too far.
Well, I think it's pretty bad. You know, he's doing his job.
You can see Fletcher replaced the American flag that was burned in the fire.
It was really nice. Sweet. I want to thank the firefighters at 17.
As grateful as they are, you can see Gonzalez is overcome with emotion.
Everyone's safe, and the rest of it doesn't really matter. And so, you know, we're grateful for that.
Just hours after the fire, Fletcher was back at the helm overseeing a county board meeting.
I want to thank in particular the San Diego Police Department, San Diego Fire Department for their very swift response.
The Metro Arson Strike Team is taking over the investigation to determine how this fire started and if there are any suspects.